Clicks, cheap cost per sale, sales, and profit. These are the 4 things e-commerce business owners absolutely want and need in order for their e-commerce businesses to grow and thrive and succeed. My name is Taz and I run Pair Digital Marketing. We're a UK-based e-commerce marketing agency, and over the last sort of 11 to 12 years, we have helped hundreds of e-commerce brand owners generate sales profitably, and we've spent millions in ad spend for our clients, and we're a Shopify expert agency, and we've been around for a long time, so you need to watch this video because I know what I'm talking about when it comes down to this. So clicks, sales, cheap cost per sales, and profit. These are the things that e-commerce founders want. And if you follow this video, and down below as well, there's a link to a playlist which will give you everything you need to know when it comes to Google Ads and how to run Google Ads profitably. Watch those videos, watch this video, and then you'll understand exactly what you need to do to start growing your e-commerce business. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing you're looking for is clicks. Now that sounds very trivial and very blasé a little bit, to be honest, but clicks is what gets you traffic, clicks is what gets you noticed, and clicks is what get you actions which lead on to bigger things like purchases from your customers, buying your product and giving you their hard-earned cash. So how do you get these clicks? What is a click? And what's so important about a click? We talk about this like it's a very small thing. We need more clicks, or the click-through rate and things like that. So let's understand exactly what that is a little bit more and understand exactly how we can potentially do that for you. So when it comes down to it, your click is basically the thing that gets your customers' attention and gets them to commit an act. Okay, so let's say you're, scrolling on Facebook or you're on Google or whatever it is. You see something that interests you, see something that you're searching for, and you click on it. Now, what makes you click on, say, your ad versus, say, your customer potentially clicking on your competitor's ad? There's a few things that you can do to really earn that click from that customer. So the first thing you can do is add reviews to your Google Shopping. Okay, reviews are really important. Now think of it like this. Imagine you're on Amazon and you've got, this mug here, right? And you're looking to buy a mug for your tea, so you can drink your tea out of. And you've got one retailer who's selling it, and you've got another retailer who's selling the same product. Now your click is going to be determined by what you can read. So if you've got a vendor selling that mug, same price, but they got 500 more reviews, 5-star reviews that is, compared to another vendor, you're more than likely going to click on the vendor who's got more reviews because they've had more custom, aren't you? So think about that for a sec. So it's really important that you add reviews to your Google Shopping listings, okay? Because that's the first thing that comes up. When customers see that star rating and it's a 5-star rating and it's got 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 reviews or more, then you know you've got that customer's attention. Okay, ad copy is a really important thing as well. So it's really important to create really compelling ad copy. Saying simple things like buy my mug, it doesn't help, okay? It doesn't work. You really need to sell through the ad copy, and the ad copy needs to address things like your unique selling point, how this product can benefit someone, what it can do, and various other things like that. So it's really important you address everything that you need to do in your ad copy, so that way your customer knows exactly when they're clicking what they're potentially getting. Landing page and copy is really important as well. So there's no point saying, for example, on your ad copy, 20% off this product, and then for your customer to click on that, land on the landing page, and there's only a 5% discount. Or something like, buy this in 5 different colors, this product. They land on the landing page, there's only 1 color available. So you need to make sure your landing page is really well optimized and it's in line with what you're advertising through your ad. Because bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, ads are nothing more than a traffic source, okay? The actual transaction, the actual cha-ching work, okay, happens on your website, on your landing page. Your landing pages, think of it as your salesperson in your shop, okay? So if the landing page is smart, turned out, has all the information that you need, then more than likely you are going to get that click turning into an actual sale, okay? And the last thing you need to do on your landing page is create a very no-brainer offer, okay? What that essentially means is give some reassurance to the customer saying, look, for example, Simba mattresses, they offer a 100-day, 100-night free trial. So if in 100 nights you don't like the mattress, it doesn't do what it's supposed to give you a comfortable night's sleep, then you can return it. No harm, no foul. So give them a no-brainer offer so that they don't think, I'm going to feel silly for saying no to this. Really get them to get to that point. And you can do that through your ads and ultimately through your ad copy as well. Now, let's move on to the next one. Cost per sale. This is one that a lot of people tend to struggle with, okay? Your cost per sale is what determines how much money you're spending acquiring that customer. Now, let's say you're selling, going back to my favorite design mug, if you're selling this mug here for, say, $10, but it's costing you $12 to acquire your customer, you're losing money, aren't you, on every single sale that you're getting. So your cost per sale is a really important metric and is something that needs to be controlled and maintained in order for you and your ad to be very profitable. How do you do that? So you focus on your ad quality score. Now within Google Ads, you've got your ad quality score, which is poor, average, above average, and brilliant or excellent or good, whatever it is. So it's really important that your ad quality score is really good, okay? Because that then tells Google that your ad is really good, and they'll present the ad to more and more people, which will increase your clicks. Going back to the clicks again, increase the amount of clicks you're going to be getting and increasing the amount of potential visitors to your site or your landing page, therefore increasing your chances of more and more sales and conversions. So your ad quality score is really important, so you need to understand that. Negative keywords are also really important, so that removes keywords from your listing which you don't need. Okay, essentially they're junk. It's always good to have them in the background so Google knows what keywords not to use when it comes to your search campaigns or your shopping campaigns or your PMAX campaigns. So that's really important. So it's really good to have make sure you've got a list of that available so that Google knows what it's doing essentially. Okay, bidding strategies are really important as well. Okay, so there's loads of different bidding strategies available. Again, down below is a link to my tutorial for Google Ads. Suggest you watch those videos. I'm not going to cover it in this video in depth, but your bidding strategies are really important because that's what maintains your profitability and your margins. So let's say, for example, your break-even return on ad spend is around 2.5. You can then tell Google on your bidding strategy, don't get me sales anything less than 2.5 return on my ad spend. So that kind of trains the algorithm to make sure that every single sale you get is at the very least a break even. And the last thing on this one is A/B test everything. Your ads, your copy, your landing page, your offer, the whole thing. Okay, ads is not one of those things where you set it up once and you forget about it. Okay, you really need to focus on testing, seeing everything and seeing what works. Okay, if you don't do that, then you won't know what works. Now here's a quick kind of tip around this for a lot of brands that we're working with, and I see this a lot. I work with a lot of e-commerce founders, and they'll look at their own ad and they'll tell me, I don't like this, or I prefer this color, or I prefer this font, or I prefer this offer, or whatever it may be. When you start thinking along the lines of, now caveat that you know your business best, but you also need to follow the data. Now you may like a certain font, you may like a certain color, you may like a certain way of ad copy being written, but if your customers are not responding to that, to what you like, then you got a problem, haven't you? So you may think this is best, but your customer data tells you the total opposite. So it's really important for you to step away from this whole thing and look at things objectively, so that way you can look at the data and be like, okay, this segment of customers, they really love this landing page for whatever reason. Let's stick with that. You may not like it, but your customers do. And ultimately, your customers are what, are going to make you your profit, your money. So it's really important to understand that and step away from that and not be, for want of a better term, emotionally attached to your brand. Okay, because that could then cloud your judgment, and then that could lead you to make decisions that are not good for the business as a whole. So I just want to throw that in there before we continue on that one. Ad reviews, we've done that already, so that's fine. We are cost per sale, yep, so we've done that. A/B test everything. Next one, profitable sales. Now it's all well and good getting a sale, right? Like I told you earlier, imagine you're selling this mug here again, and you're spending, this costs $10 for you to sell, but you're spending $12 to acquire that customer. Okay, it doesn't make sense, does it? You're losing $2 on every single sale you're getting. No point. You'll be out of business before the tea finishes in that mug. So how do you control your profitability when it comes to your sales? Have clear goals from the start. Really, and what I mean by this is that you really need to understand your numbers, okay? You really need to understand your cost of goods, your profit margins, everything, because that determines whether or not your initial ad campaigns are successful and profitable, and if you have room to scale those campaigns, okay? And that's another thing I hear a lot is people say, scale the campaign, put more money into it. It doesn't always give the results that you need. So you really need to make sure that your campaigns and everything are well thought out, structured, and you have everything in place before you even run the campaigns. Ideal customers profile is essential. You need to understand who your customer is. For example, if you're selling a dress, say you're a women's fashion brand, he's selling a dress, and you say my ideal audience or ideal customer profile is female, age 25. That's not an ideal customer profile. That's barely a demographic. You really need to understand who your customer is. For example, my ideal customer is a 25-year-old female who lives in London, who earns this much money, who has these interests, these hobbies, whatever it may be, and really build a picture of that person. Because once you build that picture of that person, what you can then do is tailor your ad copy based on that person's interests, their kind of lifestyle and everything, which means selling your product becomes very easy. And when that person sees your product based on the information you've built through the ICP that you've built of that person, they're more inclined to make a purchase because that customer is going to feel like you're speaking directly to them. And that is really important. So if you understand that, if you really dig deep into your ICP and understand what their pain points are, what their struggles are, whatever it may be, you can then tailor your whole approach to fit that customer profile. So let's say you've got a lady who lives in London, who's 25 years old, who's got a nice high-flying corporate job or runs her own business and has good disposable income. You can then sell your product for a higher price point because that lady loves a bit of luxury, a bit of something to spoil themselves with. So that's really key for you to look at. So that's really important. The next thing is have a really good call to action. Okay, simply saying buy now, it doesn't work anymore. In some cases, yes, it may do, but most of the time, having a really good call to action, for example, order now or shop now or inquire now, something like that, really kind of gives that customer that sense of urgency to commit to an action. So it's really important that you do that. And the last thing I want to mention on this one is stop focusing on return on ad spend. Return on ad spend is one of those big, deep, dark black holes which look all pretty from the outside, but the further you go down that hole, you're literally going into your hole in terms of your business. So it's really important you stop focusing on that, because it's all well and good when you look at your ad campaigns, you're spending $1 and you're getting $3, $4, $5 back. That's brilliant, fantastic. But that's not the real picture, because that's not taking into account your cost of goods or taking into account your operational costs or anything like that. So what you need to be focusing on is customer lifetime value, CLTV. That is really important, because that then tells how much a customer is going to spend with you, with your business, with your brand over a period of time. So let's say, for example, you have that lady, okay, in London. She buys that red dress from you for, say, £100 or $100, and you then offer a really good service, but it's costing you $50 to acquire that customer. So you acquire that lady as a customer, she spends $100 on your dress that you sell to her, and you spend $50 acquiring her. Okay, so in a way you just about broke even, made a bit of profit, whatever. But if over the next 6 months, that customer, that lady, spends $1,000 with you, that $50 you spent initially to acquire her, it seems pretty good, doesn't it, when you think about it? You spent 50, and over a period of time, she spent $1,000. That's the metric you need to be looking at, because once you work that figure out, you can then say to yourself, my customers cost me this much to acquire, and they spend this much in this period of time. Now I have the numbers I need, the data I need to be able to scale aggressively, moderately, very cautiously, whatever it may be. You have that information, and ROAS, or return on ad spend, starts becoming more and more of a metric you shouldn't be looking at. So that is really important. Stop focusing on ROAS, start focusing on customer lifetime value. Now, loyalty. This is something that a lot of people tend to struggle with, because think about it, there's 10 years ago when I first started in this business, there weren't that many online retailers, online e-commerce brands. There was a handful, maybe a few, or quite a few, but not as many as there are now in 2026 at the time of recording this video. Okay, so the space has become a lot more crowded, a lot more noisy, whether you're selling health supplements, whether you're selling clothing, high-end jewelry, technology, homewares, sofas, beds, whatever it may be. There's more and more people out there doing what you're doing. Okay, and it's really important to understand what drives your customer to give you their loyalty, their time, and more importantly, their money as well. Okay, so if you want to ensure customer loyalty, then you need to start doing this. So you need to create an email sequence. Now, earlier, for the most part of this video, I've talked about acquisition, okay, such as getting those clicks, getting those conversions, getting those sales. That's acquisition. Now you need to look at retention, because this is where the loyalty comes in, and this is where the profitability comes in. Okay, so you need to create email sequences that directly speak to your customer. So let's say you got an email list of 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, and you send an email out to every single one of them once in a couple of weeks, which I still see happening, mind you. You may get a few sales from it, but what you're not going to get is that customer in-depth loyalty, because you've got probably a list of 100,000 people. 50,000 of those people are probably not even relevant to what you're trying to say in your once in a lifetime email blast. The other 50,000 are probably just going to be like whatever, and out of that 50,000 that says whatever, I'd say 5,000 may be inclined to making a purchase. So it's really coming down to how you segment your audiences, so you understand exactly what needs to be done around that. Okay, so that's really important, that you separate your audiences off, and you personalize the messages to each and every single segment. And brand-led, founder-led businesses are all the rage now. Okay, there was a time when you can sit behind the scenes and really take a step back and let everything be done by the business, but now people want to know the people behind the business. And I've seen founders who've gone from almost shutting the business down to the moment they get in front of the camera to seeing their sales skyrocket again, because people buy from people. Let's face it, people buy from people, right? And if you are a founder and you are a little bit camera shy, I urge you to actually get in front of the camera and start talking about your product, your journey, your business, your whole story, to make people understand how you got from where you were to where you are, and why you're selling what you're selling, why you're doing what you're doing. That is really powerful. So it's really important. That is how you build brand loyalty, customer loyalty, and trying it, everything and everything. Okay, the more out of the box the idea is, the more you're going to stand out and the more memorable you're going to be. And if people remember you, they're going to be loyal to you. So that is really important. No idea is a bad idea. Okay, and I'm not saying do anything drastic or anything, but keep it thinking very outside the box. That's what we do for our clients here at Pair Digital. We really create, sometimes we make deliberate mistakes to just show people that, you know what, we're human at the end of the day, or our clients are human. They're not robotic or automations that are just soulless or anything. We show people that we're human, and that works really well. I know that sounds a bit controversial and a bit backwards, but hey, and we've got the case studies and results and everything to prove all that. So that's essentially what you need to do. And if you're sick of your ad copies not making any sense, your Google ads going all in the wrong direction or anything at all, then give a like and subscribe to this video. Follow me on this channel, follow me on Instagram. All the links are down below. But if you really want to get your business working in the right direction, and your Google ads, especially if you want them to really work hard for you and not against you, then down below is a link to the entire tutorial playlist. Go through it in your own time and it will really give you the grounding and understanding you need. On the other hand, if you don't want to do it yourself and you feel like that's too much for me, I can't be dealing with that, and you want to hand it off to us, then down below is another link where you can book in a call with me, with myself directly. I'll happily jump on that call with you, have a chat, understand exactly where you're at, and at the very least, you will walk away with some good, actionable information, or as a bonus to both of us, we'll end up working together and making a lot of money together in the process. Anyway, hope you found this video useful, and if you have any questions or anything at all, feel free to leave comments down below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and if you know of any e-commerce founders who could benefit from something like this, please share this with them as well, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much.